Welcome back to the Momentum Sports Podcast. Get ready for these fire picks that we're going to have for college football's top 25 matchups. Derek, are you ready for these takes?
I am ready.
All right. Let's start with Oregon and Michigan State. Oregon is a 23-point favorite. They're at home. To me, I just don't I I see Oregon running over these boys. So I don't think
Mhm.
that there's much to say about it. Michigan State
Yeah,
had trouble at home against Ohio State. Oregon's just gonna, torch them. I think.
I think so too. I think Oregon got it. This is no way Oregon loses this. It's too easy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So Syracuse at UNLV. This one is kind of interesting. UNLV is undefeated, and UNLV will be playing Boise State later this year. So
Mhm.
if UNLV can stay undefeated, they're playing a contender for that playoff spot in Boise State. If they can beat Syracuse and Oregon State, those are going to be some of their big matchups coming up. Um, so yeah, let's definitely keep an eye on this. Kyle McCord, he's at Syracuse right now, former 5-star that went to Ohio State and transferred last year. So
Mhm.
to me, this is interesting. Um, I do think that UNLV closes this out, but I think that it's going to be close, and I think Syracuse will beat the spread. So Syracuse plus 6.5 on this one.
Yeah. I don't see Syracuse winning this. UNLV is actually going to win this. They lost their quarterback, but they actually were better without that starting quarterback. They're
Yeah.
actually even better with this new quarterback.
Yeah.
No way Syracuse is winning this. No, UNLV goes 5-0. They get ready to play Boise State, and they lose that one. That's what I
And
think.
do they beat the spread? Six and a
I think
half?
uh, I think UNLV wins by 14.
Wow. Derek with the bold
Yeah,
takes.
yeah.
Whoa. All
Should never went to
right.
Syracuse.
Yeah. All right. Penn State hosting UCLA. I don't think there's much to say here. UCLA has been struggling. Penn State is at home. I think that they're just going to be too much for UCLA to handle, and Penn State is going to be practicing their offense on them.
Yep, Penn State wins. Penn State gets over 47.5. I believe that.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, Penn State for the win.
All right, this one, big SEC matchup here. The Texas A&M Aggies are home against the Missouri Tigers. Um, A&M, after a rough first start, has kind of gotten it back together. They host Missouri, who's been struggling the last couple weeks. A&M is favored by 2.5. For me, I think Missouri wakes up on this one. There's a lot of talk dissing Missouri, saying that they ain't it. I think Missouri's hearing it, and I think Missouri has more experience. And I think because of that, Missouri's going to come into Kyle Field and they're going to beat the Aggies.
You know what? I have to say this is actually going to be a lot closer game than you think. Missouri, I thought they were great. I thought they were going to win the national title. What the hell, Missouri? You know, you're not doing that. You didn't get three shutouts in a row. But we all
Yeah.
know Texas A&M. It's in Aggieland. Guess what? Texas A&M gets a crowd. Ain't called 12th man for nothing. You know what's
Mm-hmm.
going to happen? Missouri knows his 12th man very well. They have in the Big 12. They have in the SEC. And they're going to hear this 12th man roar, roar, roar really loud. Let's go Aggies. That's the only time you're going to hear me say that. I'm a Longhorn fan.
Oh,
It's
wow.
the last time you'll hear me. But here's the
All
thing:
right.
my cousin's an Aggie fan, and I'm going on her side. I think A&M wins. I think A&M wins. They bounce back from last week. They get better this week and they improve as they go. Missouri starts slumping, they get their first loss, and now it's 4-1 Missouri, 5-1 Texas A&M.
Interesting. I wonder where Missouri's going to drop after that if that happens. Because A&M would have
Mm-hmm.
to be one spot in front of them, and A&M is 25, Missouri is 9.
Not
So,
necessarily. Well, it would be like A&M would go to like 19, Missouri would go to 20.
yeah. Yeah, I know, but they're number 9. That would be a huge drop. So that will
Mm-hmm.
be interesting if A&M does win that. What kind of happens with the rankings? Let's go to the next game here. We've got Louisville hosting SMU. Very interesting matchup. Louisville went to Notre Dame last week and lost by 7, and
Mm-hmm.
SMU just beat the brakes off of Florida State last weekend. That's not saying a whole lot, but I guess it is if you're SMU. This is going to be a really interesting matchup. Louisville is favored by 7. For me, I've got to take the home team on this one. But I think anything could happen. But I'm going to take the home team, but to +7 SMU.
Mm-hmm. You know what? 9 times out of 10, Louisville wins this game, but not this game. No, it's not happening.
Whoa.
No,
All
it's not.
right.
I think SMU plays at their silly, and not every week you can play at your silly, but I think they play at their silly. They beat Louisville by 1 or 2 points.
Mm-hmm.
I think Louisville sees this game as a pushover game, and that's what hurts them in the end. So yeah, SMU is not a pushover team. They're actually a pretty good team. Not a pretty good team as a top 25 team, but they're pretty good enough to shock a top 22 team.
All
So
right.
there's my take. Yes.
He's taking SMU, guys. Taking
Yep.
SMU.
I put my
All
bold
right.
pick out there.
All right. That's your bold pick? Is that what you said?
That's bold pick. I said 9 times out of 10 to leave a win, but this
All
is at one
right.
out of 10.
He's taking 1 out of 10 on this one. All right.
Mm-hmm.
We got Ohio State hosting Iowa. It's the same story for Iowa. No offense this year. I think Ohio State is going to start out a little slow, and then they're going to start cooking by the end of the game, and they're going to beat this spread of 20.5 points in a pretty
Mm-hmm.
big victory.
Well, I wouldn't say they don't have offense. They did go on and beat, Illinois State 40-0. They went on and beat Minnesota 31-14. They beat Troy 38-21. They have offense to score that many points. So I mean, I'm not saying they're not going to win. I said they do have some offense. I don't see them putting up 40, 30, or 31 points. I
No.
see it more like just slightly less than the Iowa State, maybe like 14 points. I still think that's going to happen. But I see Ohio State just stacking up like 45, 49 points. It'd be 49-14, something like that. So Ohio State for the win above their spread.
All right. So this one's an interesting matchup. It's another SEC matchup. Auburn at Georgia. Georgia is favored by 24. I think that Auburn is going to come in and beat the spread here. I don't think they're going to win the game, but they're Georgia to me. I would be very surprised if they beat Auburn this bad by 24 points. Auburn does show up for this game. Hugh Freeze is in a interesting position where he desperately needs a win. Um, Most people do not think that Hugh Freeze is on the hot seat yet. However, if he keeps getting losses, that could soon change. I know it's against Georgia, but still, a loss is gonna, especially if you get blown out, that's gonna really hurt. It's gonna hurt the locker room, and it's gonna hurt any momentum you have moving forward to games that that you had more of a shot of winning, that maybe would be in the bag normally. A blowout loss in this situation could really change a season, and I think that it's important that Auburn beats this spread. If anything, they make it a close game, even in a loss. But I think they come out swinging and they beat the 24-point spread.
Interesting. Interesting. But here's the thing. Here's the thing what you don't know. Didn't Georgia go start losing to Alabama and they were down like 28-0? Did that happen? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You know what? Georgia doesn't want that to happen again. Not against the Auburn team. No, they're over here to start and restart. They said they want to continue what they did in the second half and bring it to Auburn. They want to show they not only can be a second half team, but a first half team. Auburn, I'm sorry, but this is the worst time you want to play Georgia. I'm sorry, it's not going to happen. Georgia's going to win this. Georgia's going to dominate. Georgia's going to stop them, and Auburn's probably not even get 10 points. Georgia 48, Auburn 9.
Hmm. You're just
It's
confident
it's
in Georgia because they're
it,
on
it,
Texas's schedule.
it has nothing to do with that. It just happens to be they're going to get run or they're going to run their butts off, and they
All
don't want
right.
that again. Yeah,
Now we'll see. You also thought that they were going to do that to Alabama. Um,
well, it is what it is. Alabama's high seven.
well, we'll see what happens. This is going to be another SEC interesting matchups. A lot of really good SEC games coming up this weekend. Ole Miss going to South Carolina. Mississippi is favored by 9. To me, this is really interesting. South Carolina is not a bad team. They played. They should have beaten LSU. I know if you should have won, you would have won, and all that.
Mhm.
Shout out to Josh Pate. But you need in this one, I'm not confident enough in Ole Miss to win by 2 scores on the road. And South Carolina um, beat the crap out of the team that just went into Oxford. South Carolina beat Kentucky 31-6. Very interesting. I'm
Mm,
going to take the Gamecocks +9. I don't know if they close this game. Um, it's I would not be too surprised if South Carolina won, but I'm more expecting South Carolina has a lead or it's a close game till the end and Ole Miss wins a close one. That's kind of my guess on the outcome of this one, but I do think that South Carolina +9 is the way to go on this one.
yeah. Well, here's the thing. South Carolina is a lot better, I think, than the record is. I think they
Mhm.
beat Ole Miss. I don't. Ole Miss was not the powerhouse offense I thought they were. They're playing chump teams now. They're in the SEC. Well, I want to hear that talk about how great the SEC is because I've been hearing that for the longest. SEC is so great. SEC is this. SEC is that. Well, guess what? We're about to see it right here because Ole Miss, they might be 4-1, but that often sucks when they actually play a real defense. And I think South Carolina pulls off this win. There's no way Ole Miss wins this game. South
What
Carolina wins this game by 3 or 4 points. That's what I believe. I just don't see it. Ole Miss is not the team. They are a fraud.
what
I should have
Hey
said they're a fraud from the beginning.
Derek,
What?
what defense did Ole Miss lose to?
What defense did Ole Miss lose to? Kentucky.
An SEC defense.
Yeah, they lost to Kentucky. They've been
Mhm.
playing SEC, but they've been playing chump teams. Come on, Wake Forest was like their best team, and they're not even that great. I mean,
Yeah.
Georgia Southern.
Yeah,
They,
there's a possibility that that game was a fluke. Hats off
yeah,
to Kentucky for winning that game though, 100%. It was awesome watching it. But
they're no.
don't close the door on Ole Miss just yet. Let's wait and see what happens. Even though I do have it being a close game, I do think that Ole Miss will win this game. Um, and I'm sorry, are you picking Ole Miss to win this game?
Oh no, no. Here's the thing. That Kentucky game was not a fluke. Kentucky's proved it against Georgia. Kentucky proved it against Ole Miss. They have a
Mm,
legitimate defense. They just need to work on that offense. South Carolina has a legitimate defense. They're going to stop Ole Miss. They're going to beat Ole Miss. South Carolina
yeah.
wins this by 3 or 4 points,
Okay.
and that's not a bold move.
That
That's
would
just
be
showing.
really interesting. If that happens, that would be really interesting.
Ole
And
Miss was all hype.
in another segment, we were talking about the Florida coaching situation over there. If Ole Miss starts losing games, that open job in Florida for Lane Kiffin looks more and more like a possibility. So that's another thing to kind of keep an eye on.
Yep.
All right, Indiana going to Northwestern. Indiana's looking really good. I can't wait to see them play real competition in the Big Ten. They're favored by 14. I'm going to stick with that. I like Indiana winning by 14 or more against Northwestern.
Yeah, Indiana's a clear cut win.
Mm-hmm.
Indiana's proved it against Nebraska, and Indiana's going to prove it against Northwestern. So yeah, I got Indiana winning this game.
So here's another SEC matchup that normally you would not look at twice, but Vanderbilt hosting Alabama. And the reason that I think that this may be a more interesting game than it looks is Vanderbilt has actually played very competitive in all of their games. They went on the road and beat Virginia Tech, a Virginia Tech team that should have beaten Miami, and in some people's eyes did beat Miami. We also did a segment on that if you guys want to check that out. And going on the road to Missouri forced that Missouri team to overtime. They had a close loss at Georgia State because of what Alabama did on against Georgia last Saturday, and what I said seems to be a consistent thing with Kalen DeBoer teams. And even regardless if this happens, he still wins. So this isn't really a bad thing. It's just kind of a roller coaster. But I think that Alabama leads the game, and they start letting the pedal off or they start letting go of the pedal a little bit, and Vanderbilt comes back and makes it a close game and beats the 23-point spread. I'm taking Vanderbilt at home plus 23.
Didn't you see the last game against Georgia? Didn't you see the new favorite for the Heisman, Milroy?
Milrow.
Milrow, wherever you, Milrow, okay? Milrow. Didn't you see him? He was electrifying. He
Mm-hmm.
dominated. He's taking this and putting it over there. You're moving the block and you're putting it over there. That's all you're doing. That's all it takes. Milroy. I,
Milrow.
okay, I'm gonna call him Milroy. Milrow. I row your boat, Milrow. Okay, well, he's gonna row his boat over there, and he's gonna be a lot more dominating against Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt's gonna wish they didn't play Alabama because you know what? Milrow is playing like a Heisman winner right now. He's going to capitalize on that again. He's going to dominate. He's going to run all over them. He might not do it. He might deceive with that. They're going to be open spaces downfield. He's either throwing it or he's running it. One or the other,
Mm-hmm.
and they're not going to know what's going to come. If it's light on the front end and heavy on the back end, guess what? He's running. If it's heavy on the front end and light on the back end, he's passing. Vanderbilt has no shot. This is a 30-point win or more.
All
Alabama to
right.
win it.
Milrow, row your boat.
Yeah, roll right through Vanderbilt. That's what he's going to do.
All right, we got Clemson heading to Florida State. I think Clemson. Actually, you know what? I think Florida State is going to beat the spread here, 14.5. I'm going to take Florida State plus 14.5. This is a rivalry game. I think Florida State's going to wake up for this. Excuse me. It's at home. I think that Florida State is going to compete here in this game. I don't think that they're going to win. I think Clemson will win this game, but I think that Florida State will give them a ball game, and plus 14.5 is my pick.
Hey, man. I'm praying for you, man, because what the hell are you talking about? Are you out of your mind? Are you completely out of your mind? This is Florida State, man. They don't have that quarterback they had last year. They're shit. They have nothing against Clemson. There's no way Clemson's losing this game. What? Okay, let me go down the line. Georgia Tech lost. Boston College lost. Memphis lost. Okay, SMU beat the crap out of them. You say that Clemson, number 15 Clemson, is going to have a close game like that against Florida State? It's not happening. The spread is actually, you know what? The spread is not where I would put it. I say 21-point spread. Florida State gets beat down. Another reason why that coach is going. Goodbye. Go on. You didn't do crap with that quarterback. You're not a good coach. You're not a good coach because guess what? When you lost your best players, you didn't learn capitalize on that. You showed a weak team.
Mm-hmm.
You need to be a better coach a better game because you're not doing it. Yes, and I hope you're watching this. Goodbye. You're getting fired. You can
Oh,
hope make it through the
easy
whole
now,
season.
Derek. Easy
Yes,
now. Easy.
Clemson's demolished.
Man, these
Clemson's
picks
the
have
Clemson's
these picks have
the team
woken
I
up,
think.
Derek. Derek, you're
But the
woken up,
Clemson,
man. You're
no, no,
erupting.
Clemson, Clemson's the one team I believe is the most dominant team in the ACC. Miami's not going to beat
Yeah.
Clemson. Clemson's going to beat Miami. That's what I think, and that's my
Yeah, I do
take.
too. I agree with you. Um on Clemson beating Miami. So Boise State hosting Utah. Not going to spend too much time on this one. I think Utah is going to run these. Or sorry,
No,
Boise State hosting Utah State. Boise State's going to run these boys. They have a Heisman contender at running back. He looks really good, and it's at the blue field. I think that Boise is going to take care of business here. They're going to beat that spread minus
mm,
21, 27, minus 27.
yep, easy going. Boise State wins. There's nothing. There's no. Or the spread's right. They're going.
Alrighty. Another SEC matchup here. We've got Tennessee going to Fayetteville, Arkansas. Tennessee is favored by 13. After watching Arkansas A&M, my preseason or my prediction for that game was that A&M was going to win a close game because I have not seen Arkansas be competitive enough to win these one-score games. Arkansas loses they are now in that matchup against A&M 1-12 in Arlington in the South since A&M has joined the SEC. So I think that they took a hit from their confidence, and this could be the beginning of the end for Sam Pittman, unfortunately. My prediction is that this game could get ugly and that we are going to see the backup quarterback at Arkansas enter the game, not because of an injury, but because of a possible blowout. And I do think I'm not hoping that this happens. As an Arkansas fan, as some of you guys know, I am. I want Arkansas to come out swinging, and I want them to change the narrative around there. But I think Tennessee is going to come in with a bunch of offense, and I do think that this may be the beginning of the end for Arkansas. They have a big stretch coming through, and yeah, this one's going to be tough. Tennessee minus 13.
All right, all right. I see where you're going with this. Hey, I'm going to tell you where I'm going with this. Tennessee's still a fraud. Tennessee's a fraud ever since they play Oklahoma. That quarterback's the main reason they're a fraud. Okay, that quarterback needs to turn things around, and I'll see him turning around against Arkansas. Do I see him winning? Yes, I see Tennessee winning. But I see it as a close game, so I'm going to jinx Tennessee. I'm going to say Tennessee wins by barely in a close game, hoping that Arkansas will pull this off. But you never know. I hope Arkansas wins. I don't see it happening, but I see Tennessee winning by 3 because that quarterback is a fraud.
All right. Well, I hope the same thing. I hope the Hogs whoop them, but
You
if I have
just
to
changed your
lean,
team. They're not winning.
I've got to be neutral on here, and I've got to take Tennessee minus 13. Um,
Hmm.
I got to stay neutral for the people. So with that being said, we've got Michigan going to Washington. This is really interesting. Washington is favored by 2.5 points. Michigan, number 10 Michigan, on the road to a mid-major Washington team is not favored. Why is Michigan number 10 in the nation if they are not favored on the road? Michigan is a bunch of frauds. I do think that they actually do win this game, but it's saying a lot that they are not favored in this matchup to me. And again, Washington has not done anything special. If you look at their schedule, they beat Northwestern, Eastern Illinois, and Weber State. They lost to Washington State at home, and they lost at Rutgers. I don't know why they're favored in this matchup. Michigan, if they're this top 10 team, why are they not favored in here? But I am going to take Michigan for the upset after saying all of that. it's just interesting to see.
Okay. Now I see where you're going here, but you didn't take the fact that Michigan played Washington in the national championship. Didn't Michigan beat Washington in the national championship? Because last time I checked, they did. But guess what? Washington and Michigan is actually be one of those rivalry games that are going to happen right now. It's not. It's a temporary rivalry game because Washington wants revenge. They knew what happened last year. They had a chance to put on that ring, win the championship, but they
Yeah, but
didn't.
all
So
those
they're
all those guys are gone though.
that's true, but they still have players on that team that still have that side effect. They're going to
Yeah.
want to beat Michigan, no matter if there's a player on that team. But Michigan's going to come in there, and they're yes, they're down by 2.5. But you know why? Because Washington, it's in Washington. That's why we're not in Michigan. We're in Washington. That's a whole different story. Okay, so
Yep.
that's giving the Washington the edge. But I think Michigan, who hopefully Orgy finds more than 32 yards passing because if he doesn't, he's not winning this game. But if he finds
Mhm.
a way, he's going to win this game because that defense is actually pretty good. They got a good running game. That's the one thing Michigan can go off on is they got a good running back. Okay, but they're going to need to make that passing game worthwhile, and or just going to need to find a way to do that. And if Washington plays at their high ceiling, I do not see Michigan winning this. Even though Michigan's ranked number 10, uh, I just don't see it because Michigan's offense is not up right there. They need to find something, but they do. They win. I still think it's a
Mhm.
close game, but I think Michigan barely pulls it out because that defense is good enough to stop Washington.
All right. So now we're going to go to another Big Ten matchup here. USC going to Minnesota. USC is favored by 8, and I think that is what they're going to do. They're going to go and win by 8 or more, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. USC is a clear cut flavor in that game.
Yeah.
I still think Minnesota got something there as USC gets shaky at times, but Spirit Days, I think USC wins 4-1.
Hmm.
I think it's going to be by 3 points. I don't see them hitting that -8.
Oh, okay. Interesting. All
Mm-hmm.
right. Let's go to the Big 12. We've got Baylor on the road to Iowa State. Baylor is pretty beat up right now. Iowa State's on a hot streak. Iowa State is favored by 12, and that's what I think that they're going to beat that spread.
Yeah, Iowa State is the thing with this conference. It's like we thought one thing was going to happen, and everything just flipped. Utah State lost. I mean, Utah lost. BYU lost. No, BYU won. Kansas State was supposed to be good. They lost. Uh, who else? I'm losing it, but there's a good team. It's flipped now. BYU looking good. I still think
Hmm.
Kansas State's favored in this, but when it comes to Iowa State, Baylor, I think Baylor's nowhere near good anymore. They're living up to the name they used to be because for the longest time, when I first started watching Big 12 football, since the conception of Big 12, Baylor's always sucked. They always had a horrible team. Then all of a sudden they grow to growth spurt out of nowhere and start doing good. Well, they're going back where they should be. Suck, suck, suck at this game. There ought to be a basketball team, not a football team. Let's leave it like that. But you know what? It's going to be a great time in Iowa State, and they do win by 14 in this game.
All right. So we're going to finish it off with our buddies from Miami as they travel to Cal. And Miami, believe it or not, is favored by 10 points. So I'm going to take Cal plus 10. I don't know if Cal wins this, but I do like them plus 10 in this. Cal went on the road and beat Auburn earlier this year. So Cal has some fight in them. I'm not that impressed with Miami. I'm going to take Cal plus 10.
Wait. You tell me they're going to win plus 10 because they beat Auburn? That has nothing to do say with that.
Who's
Auburn's
at
been
Auburn?
it don't matter. Oh, you put Auburn on a pedestal. Guess what? Just because they're in the SEC doesn't mean they're that great. You know.
Hmm.
Okay.
I mean,
I
OU
Cal,
OU barely escaped Auburn. We reviewed to that game. Auburn outplayed OU, almost had twice as many total yards as them. Should have won that football game. Winning at Auburn is tough.
Well, let me show how ridiculous that is to you. Guess who they just lost to? Who did Cowboys lose to? Who did Cal lose to? Florida State. Okay, you want to take that back?
Cal is also coming off a bye.
Don't care. You lost to Florida State, 14-9. Miami. Oh, this Miami. It's going to clobber Cal. Okay, Cal's not going to have a shot. I'm going to be turning that TV off at halftime. That's how bad the game's going to be. Okay, Miami might have made mistakes, but they're not losing this. They had some mistakes. They're working on. They see film. That's what good teams do. They're going to find a way, and they're just going to beat the just beat the snot out of these guys.
All right,
they're just going to win.
We'll see. All right.
Yep.
Well, I guess we'll end on that one. Thank you guys for watching, and be sure to check out our other content. With that being said, the Momentum Sports Podcast is out. See y'all later.